The Dolphins took down the Saints to get their third straight win at home today, but Dolphins fans will not believe this story that got shared following the game by head coach Mike McDaniel and linebacker Tyrel Dodson. I truly, when reading through Dolphins Twitter after the game, thought I was getting AI'd, thought I was getting baited, centelled. I didn't know what was going on, but it seems to be dead honest truth. What is that story? Well, it started with this from Omar Kelly, who obviously, if you just want to go through the events here at the end of the game, Miami blows it, the Saints score a touchdown, 2-point conversion to tie the game with minute 30 to go, and the Dolphins ultimately intercepted Tyler Shuck. Minkah Fitzpatrick intercepted it, took all the way to the house to make it a 21-14 or 21-17 game. If they got it, it would obviously been 19-19. Well, apparently that the play call from Anthony Weaver did not get into the defense because of a headset malfunction. And Tyrel Dodson actually called the defensive play that resulted in the pick 2, if you will, for Minkah Fitzpatrick and told defenders to say, hey, we're rushing 4. Everybody get a man. We got safety help over the top. I mean, it's not a crazy play call, but the point I'm trying to make here is how in the world do you not call a timeout here? If you're Mike McDaniel and you get told, hey, I don't know if the play call got into the defense, we're having headset issues. Timeout! How can you go into that play not knowing 1,000% certainty that you have a play call in, let alone your defense on the right page? And I know it ended up somehow working out for Miami, where the Dolphins play man-to-man because Tyrel Dodson told them to, and they get an interception return for 2 points. But, could you imagine if it was reversed? Could you have imagined if they got the 2-point conversion, then the Dolphins lose in overtime, and then this story is shared? I mean, people would be feeling a certain type of way. I already feel a certain type of way. Mike McDaniel was asked about this situation, and he said that he was about to call a timeout, but then it was communicated to him that the call got through. Although, we just stated it did not, and Tyrel Dodson called the defensive play. So not only did Mike McDaniel get lied to about the play call actually getting through, it did not. But my point is with Mike, I do not care it worked out. I don't care Tyrel Dodson made the call and it went in Miami's favor. It's the biggest play of the game. You get a stop, you would have hoped to win the game. Now, they still could have lost because of the onside kick, but the point is you get a stop, you potentially win the game. You miss, and they get the 2-point conversion, and we're tied up at 19 with a minute and a half. You need to make sure you have 1,000, 1,000,000% confidence that the operation is clean. And that goes back to the issue I've had with Mike McDaniel, not only this year, but last year. And the reason why I want him fired. The procedures, the operation, the attention to detail is never there. It isn't. I know Miami is winning games. I know that they've beaten some inferior opponents over the last month, like the Falcons, like the Commanders, like the Saints. But it's still not good, decisive, clean victories, and every week there's an issue with something, whether it is the decision-making inside the 5-yard line, going forward on 4th and goal, not calling a timeout when there is confirmed evidence that we don't know if the play got into the defense. I just don't understand how Mike McDaniel can know this, and even if there was a 1% chance the play call was not communicated to the defense because of a headset issue, there needs to be a timeout called. 1% chance, timeout. And that goes back to the attention to detail not being at the required level of winning football consistently. What's your one-word reaction to the story? I mean, this is the word of the year. I mean, you guys are probably sick of hearing it, but it's incompetence. Like I said for the millionth time, I don't care that it ended up working out for Miami. It's all about the principle, and you have to, when you're a losing football team, I don't care about winning. I care about the process. That's a bad process, and it invites bad habits. All right, more to talk about here. We'll kind of abandon the story because I don't want to continue to get it worked up here, but I did want to talk about this because this was good stuff here. Mike McDaniel and how the Dolphins have established the run over the past month. Because Miami's run offense has been not only top half in football in EPA per rush, but also in rush percentage success. And that number is only going up, 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 up after Achane ran for 130 yards today and a score. He talked about a gigantic part of it is the tonality with our offensive line that they're playing with. They're really attacking people. And for the past month, I've seen the most physical football that I've ever seen here. And I actually do agree, and it impresses me that they finally made the shift to become a run-first physical football team. Now, with that being said, there are still some issues I have that I want to talk about here in just 1 second. But this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. It's the holiday season. People are buying gifts. People are eating food. Basketball matchups on the TV. Playoff pushes. Bowl games all happening. Well, if you want to feel good to be right, well, head over to Prize Picks. I've been playing all year long. I've had a ton of success going more than on Achane. Rushing yards, receptions, fantasy score. He's been dominating. And Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. And to pick an entry, you just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, like you saw I did here. Went 2 of 3 because Chase Young got a late sack, unfortunately. But either way, I still have a blast. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. So we talk about the Dolphins being a more running football team. And Mike McDaniel speaking about the physicality Miami is beginning to play with. And I agree. You see the, success Miami's having on the ground. You see the effort Miami is putting into getting the run game more involved. Achane's a certified star who is a top 5 running back in football. He eclipsed 1,000 yards on the ground this season for the first time in his career. He's never done it in his early career, first 2 seasons. This is obviously year number 3, but did it here. And he's phenomenal. But then you say all of this, Mike, but you also up 16-8 in the fourth quarter. You get it 1st and 10 from the 11-yard line, and it's a monsoon. It's pouring rain, and what do? You throw it 3 times and then settle for 3 to go up 19-8. That is incompetence. You moved all the way down the football field to get in that situation, to go up 2 scores in the fourth quarter by running the football. You didn't do it by throwing. You did it by running the football. And then you get into the scoring zone inside the 15-yard line and you don't throw it or you don't run it once? Can you tell me how that makes any sense? And that's the part that's so frustrating, right? Not only do you have the mistake by McDaniel not calling a timeout when your defense could be out of sorts on the biggest play of the game in a potential game-winning opportunity, but then you have these play calls where you get inside the 10, inside the 15, looking to put the game away by going up 15 late in the fourth quarter. You've been running it down their throats all game and all drive, and then you go out there and throw it 3 times. I just don't understand how that is something that makes sense to me. And as I briefly mentioned earlier in the video, at this point in the season, I am about process more than I am about results. The season is not going to result in a playoff win for Miami. They're not even going to make the playoffs in all likelihood, and they're certainly not going to win the Super Bowl. So what should be done for the rest of the year to make this final month, 5-week stretch worth it? Well, it's about creating the right habits inside the locker room and creating the right process. And the process for Mike McDaniel and this Dolphins locker room isn't there. I credit them for continuing to play hard, but once again, they are playing bad, dumb football, but they happen to be getting away with it because over the last 2 weeks, they've played 2 of the worst teams in the NFL, in the Commanders and Saints, and they played a Bills team who is absolutely reeling down the stretch of the season. It is not because they're playing elite-level football. It is the complete opposite, actually. We're going to wrap up the show here in a second, but if you want unfiltered, truthful Dolphins content every single day, this is the channel for you. Daily content, live shows, 3 times a week. Subscribe and join the channel. I want to close out today's show by mentioning Tua Tagovailoa because once again, the Dolphins are winning, but I want everybody to still not drop the ball. I don't want Dolphins fans to be misled by W's in the win column every single week for the last 3 weeks. Because Mike McDaniel still has not been coaching good. He coached well against the Bills, but over the last 2 weeks against the Commanders and out of a bye week, that was a disappointing effort against the Saints. Don't want people to forget that. I also don't want people to drop their eye on Tua because the Dolphins are winning in spite of Tua right now. Why did they beat the Bills a month ago? Well, it's because the Bills turned the ball over 3 times and Miami ran it down their throat 175 yards. Achane went nuclear. Why did they beat the Commanders? Because Washington is equally as incompetent as Miami and Marcus Mariota threw a pick late. Once again, your running game dominated. Why did you beat the Saints? Because the Saints offense couldn't get anything going in the first half, and Miami's run game really controlled the time of possession for most of that first half. But Tua is not the reason you're winning. He's actually holding you back, and we're going to talk about that on the Monday morning video tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that, which is why you subscribe. But Tua's inability to make plays out of structure and in open space, scrambling, it's holding this team back. It really is. And it's hard for this team to beat elite-level opponents in shootouts and these big type of games and bad weather situations when Tua is your quarterback. I don't want to be the doom and gloom, fire McDaniel, get rid of Tua guy when the Dolphins are winning. But the truth is, just because they've won 4 of their last 5 games, by the way, 3 of those 4 opponents are picking in the top 7 of this draft. I mean, the Falcons can't win a ball game. They just lost to the Jets this weekend. The Commanders are one of the worst teams in football, and the Saints are one of the worst teams in football. Not being fooled by this team beating bad teams in November. It's still clear that Miami needs to move off of Tua long term, and they need to move off of Mike McDaniel. It's true. And I'm sorry that I'm going to continue to tell you this even when they're winning. I'll get excited on game days because I'll root for this team to win every time they play. But when the Dolphins look at themselves in the mirror and focus on what needs to happen and change for them to be Super Bowl contenders and AFC East contenders, I think it's abundantly clear the head coach and QB needs to go. You can go bark up my tree if you want over on Twitter, at Nick_Rolfs, the handle. Go follow us on Instagram as well at Dolphins Today IG for daily Dolphins coverage outside of our YouTube videos. Go give us a follow, and I'll see you tomorrow morning with another video. Go Fans.